Hey everyone, welcome back to a Bright Idea podcast. I'm Amber Key, your host, and on a Bright Idea podcast, we talk to entrepreneurs about the aha moments that launch their businesses. If you're listening today and you're either listening in your car, on Spotify or Apple or everywhere you listen to podcasts, or you can watch this episode on YouTube. And if you're watching, you'll notice that today is a solo episode. I like to come on here from time to time to give solo episodes just to give an update on things that are going on in my life, but also things that I am seeing on the business side that I like to bring to you guys. And today is a very special episode titled Laid Off But Not Left Behind, Why You Need a Backup Plan. And so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what is going on in my personal life and how I am shifting my mindset during what would usually be a time of crisis, and bringing some tips and some advice and some reassurance that everything is going to be okay. This episode is for all of you, but it really is a little cathartic for me because, as someone, which I'll get into it in a second, who is experiencing a layoff, I've really wrestled back and forth with how I feel about the whole situation. And I know that my story is not unique. I know that every single day I open up LinkedIn, which is an app I live on, and I see that hundreds of thousands of people are experiencing the same thing. They're experiencing layoffs. They're feeling this sort of like shift in just the workplace in general. And I can honestly say that up until now, that was never my story. But I always, at the same time, empathize with people that were losing their jobs because it is not fun. And now that I am experiencing it, I see the roller coaster that people are going through. So today I wanted to hop on here to talk a little bit about my experience, and I wanted to share some ideas that I have on how we can relieve a little bit of the stress by coming up with a backup plan while we still have jobs. So, before we get started, if you like what you hear, please follow or subscribe to A Bright Idea. You can subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you would like to support our show directly, you can Cash App our podcast at A Bright Idea Podcast. And if you have any feedback or reviews, please send us an email at jacksonstreetmediaco@gmail.com. And yeah, I love to hear your feedback. And if you are listening today and you know somebody who is experiencing a layoff, or you have like a friend group and you guys are all going through the same thing, please share it. Please send this podcast to someone who needs it, because I think we all need to work together during these tough times. So, without further ado, I am going to share with you about getting laid off. For those of you who don't know, about 2 years ago, I left my job in media. I worked in ad sales for about 6 years and then worked in marketing for 3 for local news stations here in Washington, D.C., and made a huge career pivot. I mean, I swung all the way to the other side of the industry, still in sales, but in medical sales. So, more specifically, I worked in pharmaceuticals for a company that is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. It also was such a fun job. I never in a million years thought I would be in this industry, having never had any experience on the science side. And I have a parent who worked in medical sales for his entire career. And as somebody who grew up very creative, I never thought that there would be a role or a space for me to be in this type of environment. But what I found was that my expertise from the media side, from sales, from just being able to work with people, I was offered this opportunity and I did really well in it. I Will say though that I kind of drink the Kool-Aid. One thing about sales, especially pharmaceutical sales and just healthcare in general, is that there is an idea of stability. The fact that while all these industries are changing and a lot of things are changing in the medical industry as well, but what has always stayed the same is the patients and the need for proper care. And so if you are thinking about getting into the medical industry, there is sort of this security in that you will always have a job. You might not always have the same job, but you will always have a job within medicine because unfortunately, patients will always be sick. Fortunately, there will always be new and updated technology that will create more medications, more diagnostics, more testing that will find cures for people's illnesses. And so, this type of business is really rewarding. And it's also for people that are looking for a 9 to 5 or a corporate job that's sort of like set in stone. This is really it is really rewarding in that aspect. But I will say, when I say that I kind of drink off the Kool-Aid, I thought that I was safe. I thought that, while the product that I was selling at the time was ending, that there would always be another role for me to jump into. And I thought, in addition to that, I'm really big on building network and connections. And I made the assumption that it wouldn't be as hard for me to find another job because I know people who know people who know people. And unfortunately, in this scenario, that was not the case. And so I ended up getting laid off from my job. And I think one of the things that is um hard to sort of wrestle with or sort of accept at first. I think I've come a long way from how I originally felt, but when you're in a job that you absolutely disdain, or you're not doing very well in it, or it might not be like your life's purpose, sometimes getting laid off or getting fired, there's like this sense of relief in a way. You're like, well, good, because I didn't like that job anyway, and now I can really find what I want to do. But in my scenario, I worked for a phenomenal company and I had the best manager and the best team, and I've never felt this way about a job before. Yes, it was hard. I work in sales. So you're waking up every day trying to change somebody's behavior on a product and why they should use your product. So that in its sense, it can be sort of tiring and it's easy to get burnt out. But I genuinely woke up every day excited to go talk to doctors and help patients overcome hurdles in their treatment and in the affordability of their medication. And so when I got the news that I was no longer going to be a part of um, this product, this company, this team, it really hit hard because I love what I do. And I knew also, having come from a completely different industry where I didn't always know what was next for me. Like, in this role, I had so many good mentors and people that were constantly telling me, "You're so good at this and you're going to go so far." And then I got hit with like the layoff button, the layoff email, and I was like, "Holy hell, what is next for me?" So, I just wanted to share my story, because for anybody that's out there listening who could be experiencing the same thing, just know that you're not alone. And one thing that really helped me was the fact that with my company, they laid off our entire team. And so my entire team is going through the same thing. And not that you want to like be one of those people that's like misery loves company, but there's sort of like, you feel gratification and sort of like validated in your feelings that you're not the only person going through this, and that an experience that you really loved is coming to an end. And so, as you all know, I've had this podcast now for almost 3 years, which is quite crazy. And I've been able to grow it and talk to so many fascinating people. And I've had sponsorships and I've had way different ways of monetizing this podcast. And so for me, this has really been has turned into a side hustle. At first, a Bright Idea podcast was a passion project. It was something that I really valued. I love business and talking to entrepreneurship. And I think that business is such a huge, small businesses are such a huge part of our ecosystem. But at the time, like when I started, I wasn't really thinking about how I could turn this into a form of income. And now that I'm sitting sort of at the crossroads of looking for a new having been laid off, looking for a new role and what I'm going to um have in the meantime to pay bills and to just live. I've been able to think more on how a Bright Idea podcast could really be another source of income in the meantime. And so for this episode, I really want to talk to you guys today about reframing the narrative of what it means to be a business owner. And I know that on a Bright Idea podcast, we talk to people that have who are in full-time entrepreneurship. We talk to people that are entrepreneurs but have side hustles, and some people that may just have an idea. And I know that many people who have stability in their 9 to 5 corporate job may not ever want to be a full-time entrepreneur. And so I want to be validating today to say that that is okay. This episode is not to tell people that they should go and never look for another job, that they should go full on entrepreneur mode, because as we know, not everybody can run a business. But having another income isn't about becoming a full time entrepreneur. It's really about protecting your peace. Because when I got that email, and I'll never forget, it was an email and they were like, get on this call at this time. And then we all get on the call. And then our CEO mentions that we're all getting laid off. Like it was in that moment that I was like, if I didn't have a Bright Idea podcast and if I didn't have other skills that that were transferable and able to earn another income, I think I would be screwed. And so I really wanted to come on here to sort of share some ideas that I've been thinking about in the last few weeks on how other people, regardless of if you've been laid off, regardless of if you love your job, why it is so important to have another income in the background even when you're working. So, I wanted to talk about some ways that you can earn additional income while still working in your corporate job. And some people that are listening to this might be like, okay, so but what does that actually look like? And starting something on the side in addition to your 9 to 5 that you go to every day can feel overwhelming. I understand that. But also, I want to re-emphasize the importance of having an additional piece of income on the side so that when things like this happen, where you get laid off from your job, you are not sitting over here having panic attacks because you have something in the background that's working for you that you can kind of pull from. And so I came up with a few ideas that I'm going to call low stake ideas, because low stake means that these are this is not something that should take over your life. It's not something that should require you to quit your job. It's not even something that needs to make thousands of dollars overnight. It's just something. That's it. It's just to have something. You don't even I think don't even realize like the amount of money that things are costing. So like you can you can make something and set it and forget it, and it earns you additional income, just pay for groceries, to put that extra $15 of gas in your car. Like, this episode is not to like, okay, guys, we're gonna launch a product today. We're gonna launch a business. If it turns into that, then more power to you. But really, I just want people to to have some security and to be safe out there because it the layoffs are not going to stop. They're going to continue happening, and so how do we get ahead of that? How do we not become dependent on the job, in corporate America when really their prioritization is not on us? So, I want everyone to prioritize themselves, and by doing that we're going to create some things that can exist in the background, that can grow over time, and that can give you a little bit of breathing room when you need it. So, the first idea that I was thinking about is digital products. And I know that everyone is promoting digital products, whether it's ebooks, courses, classes, understandable. I know that it's a very saturated market, but it's one of the easiest places to start in terms of building some additional income in the background. And the reason for that is because if you take a look and you sit back, I did this exercise a few weeks ago and I was like, okay, I'm losing my job. That sucks. Bills have I um in this role and in previous roles. A lot of times you don't even think about the fact that you have a skill set that other people don't already have or may not have the time to do. And so they can use you as a resource. And so what could this look like? Well, it could look like a template or a guide or a checklist, like anything that solves a problem that you already know how to solve. So I think about some of the people that I work with that have been incredible mentors to me, throughout my career, that have taken a look at my resume, that have coached me on ways that I can grow in my career. Like, that is a skill set. So maybe your digital product is creating a resume template that you can sell and people can use your format. And I thought about this because when I got laid off, I immediately started applying to jobs. And I had colleagues that were like, that hadn't done an interview in years and hadn't put together a resume in years. And so they were like, can I just look at your resume just to get some sort of framework on where to start? And I was like, absolutely. You can go ahead and copy it. Like, that's a skill set. So maybe it's creating a template or maybe it's creating an interview prep guide. I'm still in the interview process, but since the time I learned that I was getting laid off, I've had 20 interviews. Actually, probably more than 20, but 20 is like what I remember. Um and through that interview process, what people may not understand is that recruiters and hiring managers sort of ask the same questions. They may ask things in different ways, but the questions are pretty much the same. And so if you have also been in a situation where you've been interviewing with thousands of people, what it seems like, I hope you haven't been interviewing with thousands of people. That is wild behavior. But if you've been interviewing with several people, you kind of understand already what you're going to be asked. Then so if you create an interview prep guide that you can like sell to people so they can have an understanding of what they may be asked, and then um sort of like create a document where people can fill out their own experiences, and so it's very really helpful to other people to kind of like have that thought before going into an interview, and it helps with preparation. That's another idea. Or if you are coming from a more creative role, maybe you just got laid off from your marketing role or your social media management role, and your job was to focus on analytics and content calendars and strategies. Content calendars are so underestimated. As someone who's not very analytical, I know that I have bought a content calendar template that has been so instrumental in how I've been able to build this podcast. And so if that's a skill set that you have, go on and build that content calendar, girl, and sell it for like 10 to 15 bucks and people will buy it. That's the other thing. I think because digital products are so saturated and like it seems as if everyone is doing it, really everyone is doing it because it works. So don't stagnate yourself. Don't feel like no one's going to use your resources because everyone's already doing it. If you have a skill set and if you have a value, people will buy your products. The other thing I want you guys to consider are offering small skill-based services, and I really want to emphasize small. This is not about building a full freelance business with like 10 clients. It could be something small. Again, using your experience with being laid off and like shifting the narrative of that. Like, what did you learn from, okay, you're laid off, so now you're out here looking for roles. What skills have you learned from that experience? It could be reviewing people's resumes. It could be helping someone update their LinkedIn. It could be sitting with someone and doing mock interviews. Like, these are services that you can offer somebody that are really transferable skills, but really add such value to somebody's overall like well-being, like being able to practice these things and go out and find a job. Like, these are things that you can just do in a few hours a week using the skills that you already have. Another thing that I want to talk about is helping with social media or writing or maybe doing some admin work. If you are somebody that is really loves to be in control, really likes organization, this is maybe like freelance light, like you could take on a client or two. There's so many because I work with businesses. I know so many small businesses here in the DC area where I live who like that the business owners need help. So, in addition to running their business, entrepreneurs oftentimes have to be the social media person. They have to do the copywriting, they have to do the admin. You can be a virtual assistant for that person. And what you can do is put together a small package and walk into your local business and be like, hey, I am so and so, recently laid off from my job. These are my skills that I have, and I would love to help you in the meantime grow your business. Or I would love to sit and talk to you about some of the pain points in your business that I may have the skill set to help with. So that's another way to earn additional income too. And honestly, some of like the simplest options are things that people overlook. So I think that by offering just maybe like a service to somebody that they have been doing in their every single day and maybe they're not good at or maybe they just don't have time for it, that's where you can really step in and use your chops to help somebody out. And in addition to that, don't forget that all of these skills that you have that you're helping people to achieve or clients or whatever to earn additional income, that you can put on your resume or you can put on your LinkedIn. Like, you're just at this point growing your portfolio of things that are going to be attractive to your future employer. The next thing that I want to share, and I think that this is like very well known, but I don't think that we always utilize this, but reselling. Like, reselling, like, as someone who is an avid thrifter, somebody that loves to buy things secondhand, but I also am somebody that, like, every year I go through this shedding of sorts where I'm like, okay, my apartment is getting cluttered. I need to like get rid of some stuff, or I want to completely change my whole living room, or I want to get a new bedspread, like all of those things. Instead of just like giving them to Goodwill or giving them to a friend or throwing them in the trash, which I hope you do because that's horrible for the environment. You could be reselling, like resell clothes that you don't wear anymore, flip items from thrift stores, like list things on Facebook Marketplace. If you're creative and you're handy, you could also get things from thrift stores and make them your own, and then resell them. Or there are people out there that might need your services. If you're handy and you are good at building things, you can use that as a skill. You can use that as a service to make some additional money by helping people put together things that they would normally call a TaskRabbit for. So that's another strategy. Another thing that I want to emphasize is monetizing things that you're already doing. So, if you're somebody that naturally likes to share products or recommendations, or you have a cool lifestyle online, you can use affiliate links. I am chronically online. I hate to admit that, but I see so many people that are wearing cool clothes or have cool, like, items in their everyday life, and I'm always, like, in their DMs, like, "Where'd you get that? Where can I buy that? Oh, how can I get that to make my life a little more easy, a little easier?" If you can become like an Instagram I'm sorry, an Amazon affiliate link, or a like to know, like, affiliate influencer, and people buy what you recommend, and then you can get a percentage of that. And honestly, that could be a very easy way to make money, because that's sort of doing something in your sleep. Like, you're already going to be posting these things, why not post a link in addition to that people can then click and buy, and then you're making money in the background. So, if you're somebody that likes to create content, or you even start a niche page, like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to go viral, but over time, it could turn into opportunities, partnerships, and income streams. And if it does, that's great. If it doesn't, also great. You just need to have something in the background working while you're working your 9 to 5. I just want to say this again: none of these additional streams have to be huge. You don't need a business plan, you don't need a logo, you don't need to announce it to the world. You just need to start. I think that is one of the biggest things when it comes to, like, the overwhelm and, like, where am I going to start? I already have this job that I work 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, and I don't have the bandwidth to create a launch or create a brand, or even, like, sit down and flush out this entire idea. I think if you just have one idea and you have a cell phone, which we all have, we can all make money on this thing. Or you have the experience, as I mentioned earlier, where you knew that you were getting laid off, so you started, like, sprucing up your resume or doing mock interviews with friends. Like, use that. Use that. There's so many people out there that need your resources, need your help. Um, it doesn't have to be something that you build massively overnight. It's just something that exists, and you just have to begin. So, I just wanted to share a few of those things for you guys, and I would love to know what you think. I'd love to know if you would be taking part in any of these ideas that I shared today. And really, I just want to share with you guys that you're not alone. We're all experiencing it, and we're going to be all right. So, if it's just something, I want to just leave you guys here. Just one actionable idea is to just start. So thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of a Bright Idea Podcast. If you like these solo episodes, let me know. Drop a comment. I would love to share more ideas, more things about the industry, more things of just what's happening in my life currently. Um, but yeah, uh, I guess, I don't know, stay tuned. I might have a job soon, who knows? But in the meantime, I will be working on this podcast. So if you have any entrepreneurs that you think would be great on this show, let me know. If you have any topics that you want me to dive into further, I would love a research moment. Let me know. Um, and if you would love to follow or support this podcast directly, you can follow us on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and you can support our show directly by donating to our Cash App at A Bright Idea Podcast. So that's it for this week's episode of A Bright Idea Podcast. This podcast was edited by Quincy Tucker. Social media was done by Shekinah Henderson. And until next time, I'm Amber Key.